All right. If anybody kind of drips in, that's fine. My name's Paul Canner. I guess most of you know me on this call. Looking who's here, we've got kind of a mix of folks and people on my team, and some realtors, some folks that we've got pre-approved to buy a house, and it looks like some credit union employees. So all really, really good. And today we're going to talk about kind of some of the basics of whether somebody should make the decision to rent or buy. And there's benefits to both. And spoiler alert. We're going to tell you that in most cases, buying a house is going to make a lot more sense than renting financially. Now, besides finances, there's other reasons why people may want to buy a house or do want to buy a house. Sense of pride, community, yard is a big one, outdoors, more space. Security is a huge one for folks to have security so when they buy a house. So those are some of the non-financial things. You know, what a great place to raise your family, just kind of be a part of the community that you're not going to get typically when you rent, especially if it's an apartment. Now, most of you saw that email. And I've always, lately been just really surprised to hear how much folks are paying for rent right now. And so when you look at the rental payment, yes, home prices are going up, but rents are going up as well. You're spending a lot of money going to the landlord. Some people would use the saying, flush it down the toilet. Not quite that's the case because you are providing shelter over your head. But rental rates are going up pretty large percentages as well as home prices because we have a basic supply shortage of housing in this country. A lot of this stems back from the financial crisis of 2006, 2007, 2008, where the builders slowed down on putting new inventory into the marketplace. Some inventory pulls out of the marketplace, whether it's condemned for other use or just aged out for whatever reasons. Plus, we've had some pretty significant population growth. Remember, households form in people's late 20s, early 30s, and we had a population or birth boom back then. So all those folks are coming into needing housing. So that will generate more housing. Hey, the guy that's living in mom and dad's basement may be moving out. But we are starting to see, because the shortage, a little bit of multi-generational housing, but that's not going to fix the problem. So right now, yes, interest rates are higher than they were a year or two ago. Our biggest issue is just having enough, inventory supply, basic economics, and that's economics 101. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through this evening. We're going to try to keep it to 15 minutes, but we're going to start to kind of take a look at the benefits financially of buying versus renting. So I'm going to start with this slide right here. And yes, I'm seeing rents for garden apartments over $5,000 a month, and that really sparked this whole thing. But $1,600 a month someone might be paying right now in rent. That's actually probably pretty good rent for folks, an apartment, and there's not a ton of that out there, but there is some. If it goes up 5% a year, how much money have you given the landlord and built no equity? Well, right off the bat, the first year, almost spending 20 grand. By year 5 at 5% increases per year, that year alone is $22,340. So when we look at the total, you've paid the landlord over $106,000 without building any equity. And this is when it really hits home, is if I put a small down payment down, and pay the same thing in rent and a mortgage. Now, granted, $1,600 mortgage, you better have a big down payment right now. But if you're like a lot of folks paying, $2,800 to $4,000 or $3,000 a month in rent, that's, this could be a huge thing for you. So let's take a look here. So I went on apartments.com. I had to go see what there was renting for this. We had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 817 square feet for almost $4,000 a month. Now, I did go on apartments.com the other day and pulled, what was in my area of my office. So I was able to drive out there and look at this. They even have old stuff by the dumpster. Dumpster isn't closed. Yeah, it's not bad, but it sure ain't pretty for, $3,900 a month. And it's 672 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment for almost $3,600 a month. That's just rent. That's not your utilities. And that is not your, renter's insurance. And then down the street, there was another one, and this is the one we're going to use. It looks a little bit nicer, actually. And this was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, under 800 square feet for $3,300 a month. That's going to buy you a pretty nice house. So we went in the same zip code into multiple listing to find a house that someone may look who may be living in an apartment based on what we've seen going on here. And here's a house that is listed for $324,000. We pulled out of MLS. Now, we're knowing that houses are selling over asking price right now. So we're assuming that this house probably sold for about $350,000. I know it's a little counterintuitive if you're not in the market right now. I know some of the folks on this call on the market can agree and tell me, well, hey, I bet it sold for more than that. But I think, $350,000 for a little bit under 1,500 square feet. House looks, fairly nice neighborhood, all that stuff. Same zip code, so same area as these apartments at almost $4,000 a month. And let's take a look and see if we're going to pay $350,000 to buy this with a 3% down payment, what that looks like versus renting a house. So what we do is we go in here and you have the principal and interest. Now, the cool thing about this, that's the largest part of your mortgage payment. That's fixed. So just think as that rent goes up in that house, your housing payment here is really not going to change much. It's only going to change from taxes and insurance. Then we pulled the actual taxes from Henrico County on this property. It's $340 a month. So we pay that. So we make sure the real estate taxes are paid because the landlord's paying the apartment. And then we put $150 a month to the side. Now, you're probably not doing this. We need to budget for maintenance and repairs because at some point you're going to have to, work on the HVAC, replace an appliance or something. So that's going to give you about $1,800 a year towards improvements or just maintenance on the house. Probably a little bit on the high side, but would rather do that. So we're going to use a housing payment of $2,378 versus that of $3,308 a month apartment. $24 a month for your renter's insurance because you got to cover your contents and so forth. There's no maintenance and repairs because your landlord's taking care of that. So that is one of the benefits of the apartment. And that gives you a total payment of $3,332. So right off the bat, buying the house cash flow wise is cheaper than renting. Then if we were to do that over 9 years, I think the average house somebody stays in for 10 years of the latest surveys I've seen. Just the cash flow difference, what you pay out every month, will be over $158,000, almost $159,000, less money going out of your pocket. As you can see, the rents go up every month, and the mortgage payment doesn't really change a whole heck of a lot. So that's one gain right there. Then, just by paying the loan balance down, and we ran this at 6%, these are rates effective right now. You would have paid that principal balance down another $44,761. Now, you would have seen a small tax benefit. I think I took a family, had a household filing, so this is going to be the smallest one. Because of the 2018 tax breaks, is only $73 in this particular case if you're not writing off any other deductions. Now, if you have some other expenses, the tax savings would be significantly higher. But we're using a standard deduction of $20,800 without writing anything else off. So you pay that loan balance down about $45,000. Just through simple amortization. How much of your loan balance in the apartment did you pay down? Oh, you paid the landlord's balance down. Okay. So that's one thing. And then the house will appreciate. Now, I only use 3.81% appreciation because we're kind of looking at historics. But right now, we're anticipating to see a little bit higher appreciation than that. We've seen it the last few years. We'll probably see a little higher than that this year. And because it's a supply problem and the fact that, the economists that I'm listening to about the Central Virginia market, it's going to be 5 to 7 years before we're even close to a balanced market. We'll probably see a little bit higher appreciation, but let's be conservative. So that house, you pay $350,000 for it. And only put 3% down though, and the value after 9 years is $490,000, and it will cost you close to $30,000 in selling expenses when you sell it at year 9. So we are taking all those factors into consideration here. So your net gain by buying the house as opposed to renting is over $304,000. As you can see, the first year it made more sense to rent. And after that, it quickly changes the scale the other way to owning. Now, we have some folks who will buy a house, live in it for 2 or 3 years, rent it out, so they're getting that great rental income that's increasing over time, and go buy another house. So that's kind of a great way to build wealth. And it's kind of like this. I've heard a statistic that 85% of millionaires in this country household income was never over $100,000 a year. And how do they get so wealthy? Through owning real estate. As you can see here, you're getting over $300,000 in 9 years' time. That's after selling the property. Imagine if you kept it and created that extra income as well. So that is a pretty significant difference in your wealth and earnings. So $304,199. Just want you to that number stick in your head, especially if you're paying $3,000 or $2,800 or $2,500 a month in rent right now. And this is an interesting statistic from the St. Louis Federal Reserve, looking at the median net worth of renters versus homeowners, and there is just no question who has more wealth. Now, this is basically to do the two things. One is that home appreciates pretty well, right? And they've kept their housing payment down because they own the house, and the rent, the principal and interest payment typically doesn't go up. And hey, as we see interest rates go down, which we're anticipating to see in the next year, you can lower that payment, where the renters are going to keep getting those annual increases in what they have to pay out, so they don't have the extra money to save and invest. So there's a huge disparity here, the wealth between homeowners and renters. So kind of keep that in mind. Is another reason is the numbers don't lie here. So I put a few slides in there. Just kind of looking at the market. I do, and anybody else wants to put some questions, I've got, a question here, and it relates to the market, is that shouldn't I wait for the prices to come down to buy a house? And my answer to that is I don't see prices going down because of the lack of inventory. So if you were to buy a house, a year or 2 years from now, it would have probably gone up, 10-ish%, maybe 11%. So you're going to pay more for that house, even if interest rates come down, which we're anticipating. The affordability of that house, the cost of the house is going to be more expensive. Where if you were to go in and buy the house now, and when rates come down, refinance, you can, gain that appreciation of that 11 or so percent over the next year or two, and get a lower monthly payment. So that's not a good one. And then that brings up the question is, well, should I wait for interest rates to come down? I think we just answered that. So that's it. And then, this person's still pressing me on, while the media says, or I saw an article about how home prices going down. Well, when you look at a map of the U.S., you can see that we actually have seen some price depreciation recently on the West Coast, and we've seen some prices come down. Some of the dynamics are different, but pretty much everywhere else, other than Washington State, Oregon, and California, we're seeing home values appreciate. Now, those are big homes, and the dollar amounts are good, and the media will focus in on one neighborhood or one thing there. But home prices, the rest of the country have been going up. We've been seeing that locally. Some of it is seasonal. We typically see larger homes sell over the summer, smaller homes in the fall. So, that affects the median price, but not for that same house. And all those indexes, even that were taken the West Coast for March and February, are showing home prices appreciating. And the reasons why we're having the prices going up and bidding wars on houses are so different than they were in 2005 and 2006. Lending standards have gotten really stringent, but we don't have the inventory. Back then, we had inventory, we had empty houses, and we did not see rents increasing at this crazy amount. So there were other options for folks. Plus, we had those really loosey-goosey lending standards, which we don't have. And I know a lot of always refer to this, but that movie, The Big Short, they did a pretty good job of explaining as to how we got into that terrible place. But now with the ability to repay, Dodd-Frank, all these things, the average credit score for a buyer is definitely interested. Somebody asks, what are interest rates? That's the most common question I get. And everybody's rate's a little bit different. There's about 26 factors that go into an interest rate. We can make some assumptions on things. We do see them trending down a little bit. As a matter of fact, I think we'll see, at least from the economists I follow, that when we see the inflation numbers come out early next week or mid next week, we're going to see looks like inflation is slowing. I think we're seeing some layoffs happening, that we'll see some improvement in rates as that inflation number comes down. Even though the Fed increased the rate yesterday, that's the short-term rates. the markets took that as, hey, inflation is getting in control. So we actually did see some improvement into the longer term mortgage rates. So all that being said is, if people are going to wait for rates to come down, let's say over the summer, that means people, who are ready to sell their houses because they have these amazing rates to go move, that's just going to put more buyers in the market. It's not necessarily going to help the situation. It's going to kind of even keel. Maybe it'll help some of the folks for first-time buyers, but now we're just kind of throwing more fuel on the existing fire. So any other questions? I don't want to get too much. I've got a lot of just kind of market questions. We're at our 15-minute mark. I don't want to take a lot of time. We will be doing more of these pretty much on a monthly basis, and we'll continue, to do that and be glad to do one on interest rates and the market. I really appreciate everybody coming here. Remember to give us a holler if you have any questions, want to follow up. Looking forward to helping all of y'all get into houses. Have a great Thursday evening and weekend. Bye-bye.